Picture a family in Flushing, Queens that's been in the same apartment for 22 years. The father drives a 2009 Honda. The mother cuts coupons on Sunday mornings. Their kids went to state schools on full scholarships. From the outside, nothing about this family signals wealth. Their net worth crossed $2.3 million. Nobody at the office knows. The family never read a personal finance book. They never hired a financial advisor. They just inherited a set of habits so old and so quietly effective that most Americans have never encountered them. If that's the kind of thing you want more of, subscribing takes 2 seconds. This channel covers the financial patterns that don't make headlines but actually move the needle over time. Research from the Federal Reserve's Survey of Consumer Finances shows that Chinese American households accumulate wealth at significantly higher rates than the national average, not because of higher incomes, but because of a different relationship with money passed down through generations. These habits don't trend on social media. They've just been working quietly for centuries. The first habit is Jiejian, and it's not what most Americans think frugality means. Jiejian doesn't mean deprivation. It means spending with intention so deliberately that waste becomes genuinely uncomfortable, not as a discipline, but as a value. In Chinese culture, spending on things that don't align with your actual priorities isn't a lifestyle choice. It's considered a lack of wisdom. That distinction changes everything about how decisions get made. Think about 2 co-workers. Call them Kevin and Wei. Both earn $72,000. Kevin upgrades his phone every 2 years, leases a new car every 3, and replaces furniture when it looks dated. Wei drives a paid-off car, uses his phone until it stops working, and furnishes his apartment once. 10 years later, Kevin has a nice apartment full of things he barely notices. Wei has $140,000 in index funds and no debt. The second habit is Cun Qian, saving before the money touches your hands. This isn't the American model of saving whatever is left at month's end. In Chinese households, a portion moves to savings the moment income arrives, automatically, without negotiation, without willpower. The Federal Reserve's data shows the average American saves roughly 4% of disposable income. Households practicing Cun Qian typically target 20 to 30%. On a $60,000 salary, that gap over 30 years at 8% returns is the difference between $293,000 and nearly $1.5 million. Though past performance doesn't guarantee future results. The mechanism is simple, but the psychology is profound. When money never enters your spending account, your brain stops counting it as available. You adjust within weeks, not because you're disciplined, but because the option to spend it doesn't exist. Automate a transfer for the day after payday. Start at 10% if 20% feels impossible. The number matters less than the sequence. Save first, spend what remains. The third habit is Mianzi management, understanding the difference between real status and performed status. In American culture, face is maintained by displaying wealth. In traditional Chinese financial culture, Mianzi is maintained through demonstrated wisdom and long-term thinking. Buying something you can't afford to impress people who aren't paying your bills is considered a loss of face, not a gain of it. A 2024 Charles Schwab survey found that 35% of Americans admit to spending money they don't have to keep up with peers. That number drops dramatically in communities where financial restraint carries social respect rather than social stigma. When restraint signals strength rather than limitation, the pressure driving most American consumption loses its grip. The family in Flushing doesn't feel like they're missing anything. They just stopped performing wealth for an audience that wasn't paying attention anyway. The fourth habit is Qiku, literally eating bitterness. Qiku describes the willingness to endure short-term discomfort in exchange for long-term stability. Taking the second job for 2 years to eliminate debt, living in the smaller apartment while savings grow, choosing the state school when the math says to. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reports the average American spends $1,800 a year on entertainment. In households practicing Qiku, that number gets interrogated against one question: what is this purchasing me in terms of future freedom? The fifth habit is Jia Pu, the family financial record. For centuries, Chinese families maintained written records of financial decisions, lessons learned, and wealth-building principles passed from one generation to the next. Most Americans start their financial lives from zero, making the same mistakes their parents made because nobody wrote anything down. A notebook works. Once a month, what you spent, what you saved, one decision that went well, one you'd make differently. Do it for a decade and you'll have something worth passing on. None of these habits require a higher income or a dramatic overhaul. They require a different operating system, one where wealth isn't performed for an audience but built quietly, decade after decade. The families that apply these principles don't look wealthy by American standards. They just keep not spending money they don't need to spend. The apartment in Flushing, the 2009 Honda, the $2.3 million nobody sees coming. That's what quiet wealth looks like. It was never a secret, just a habit, passed down.